from what we understand. So keep that in your prayers. Keep her in your prayers. Don Gilmore, she's at Medical City. Used to be Plaza Medical. Don Gilmore was in the hospital with pneumonia. He went home AMA. If you don't know what that means, it means it's against medical advice. So keep Don in your prayers. Sandra Cummings is real weak. She had high sodium levels and was dehydrated. Still having some problems and reactions that she's had with her chemo treatments. But she's home. She's, like I said, very weak, but we need to keep her in our prayers. Also, Maurice Cutright is having some blood pressure problems and other health issues. Ronnie Moore had gallbladder surgery and then had to have some other gallstones removed that was in his bile duct, so let's keep him in our prayers. Yolanda Hinahos is starting a new chemo treatment within the next 2 weeks. She saw her oncologist, and there were some new spots on her liver as well as some enlarged spots, so we need to keep her in our prayers. All the rest are there. There's several others we need to continue to remember. Let's sing together, and Mike has our Devo this evening. Holy words long preserved for our walk in this world, they resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart, words of life, words of hope, give us strength, help us go in this world where'er we roam. Ancient words will guide us home. Ancient words ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Holy words of our faith, handed down to this age, come to us through sacrifice. Oh, heed the faithful words of Christ. Holy words long preserved for our walk in this world, they resound with God's own art. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Ancient words ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Ancient words ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Ancient words ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Holy Lord, most holy Lord, you alone are worthy of my praise. Oh, holy Lord, most holy Lord, with all of my heart I sing. Great are you, Lord, worthy my praise, O holy Lord, most holy Lord, with all of my heart I sing. Great are you, Lord, worthy of praise, holy and true. Great are you, Lord, most holy Lord. Great are you, Lord, worthy of praise, holy and true. Great are you, Lord, most holy Lord.
You've heard it was said to the people long ago, don't murder and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment. And again, anyone who says to his brother, Raka, is answerable to the Sanhedrin, but anyone who says, you fool, is in danger of the fire of hell. I had to remember that today. How many of you have the scripture just, printed on your forehead? He said, bind it, to know your scripture, right? That's the idea. Do y'all drive on the freeway? I know there's some, there's some people out there that have done the same dumb things I've done. Pull over in a lane without signaling. Yes, Debbie. Suddenly have to get off the road, flat tire. Get out of the way, don't pass on the right. What's all the other rules and regulations we're supposed to follow while we're driving? And there's so many people just don't understand what a white line is for. Or the double yellow. Yeah. And that octagonal shaped thing that has stay tuned or project. I don't know. I had to remember it today. And the scripture came back into my mind the minute I said it and called somebody ahead of me in a truck, coming way too fast, passing on the right, zipping. He was wrong. You know the feeling, don't you? What do you want to label them? Right there on the spot. Yeah, you question their intelligence. Thank you, Chris. But we want to label them, right? They're just as human as us. We've probably done it too at some point. And the scripture starts out by saying, you've heard it said long ago, don't commit murder. And anyone who murders is subject to judgment. But what is he really saying here to me? What is he really saying here to you? When I'm ready to label that person, I'm downgrading him from personhood to wastebasket, aren't I? Or something similar. Because that's what the Raka, idiot, what's all the other labels that we use that downgrade a person? But when you call someone, I'd like to see it in Greek. I haven't studied it enough. That word, F-O-O-L. You know, what does it really mean? And have I ever been one? The truth is, yes, I have. And that's okay with Jesus because he forgave it. He died for me to be forgiven of it, and God not hold it against me. But I have to ask, don't I? Well, if you have an offering to give at the altar, and remember that your brother has something against you, does that turn the other way sometimes too? That you have something against a brother or sister? Isn't that the same problem that he's trying to address? God didn't make us unequal. He made us equals to share and help each other. That guy in the pickup has still got a label on him in my brain, but he's a person too. How about you? Can we smile at him and go, he'll learn, she'll learn. Somehow, hope for learning, hope for the best. Give them over to God. Father, thank you for saving us, for raising us to be your people. And Father, thank you for all the others. Those people that don't know you yet, that don't know really the blessings they can have. And when they're searching, Father, help us to be where we need to be to help them find you, the truth of love, and the truth of being yours if they choose to be. And forgive us our sins, just as we forgive those who sin against us. We ask it in Christ's name. Amen.
Boy, have I got some good stuff for you tonight. Where did my screen go? Oh, there it is. It's there. It's there. I have been doing a little bit of polishing today and earlier, so I'll be depending on technology more than I should. But I'm very excited to share with you tonight. I hope you've had a great day today. I know I have. Not sure about my students. They worked hard. They had 27 terms, and they learned before the end of class you didn't have time to talk and define those terms. So some of them have homework. That's up to them. It's okay. Hope you're having a great day. We're still rejoicing. We're still rejoicing. Philippians 4, verses 4 and 5. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I will say, rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to all men. That's all we're studying tonight. Let your gentleness be known to all men. So let's start with this simple question. What is it? I think for Mike it must be people who change lanes without signals right now. But what's your pet peeve? What annoys you most? What really gets under your skin? And why does it bother you so? Yes. Give me just a second. I hate that. I'm pretty annoyed about that too, yes. Yeah, leaving them out wherever. People not putting their carts back at Walmart, if you didn't hear back there, and just leaving them willy-nilly wherever. That's in my way. I'm going to get my car broken. We've got some discussion tonight, yes. And leaving the cart right in. You're right, Linda. People will leave the cart standing right there and you can't even check out without you pushing their basket out of the way. Yeah, being inconsiderate. I don't like inconsiderate. Yes, but what really annoys me more, the big vehicles that take up more than one parking space. That is annoying. What really annoys me is the nice, real shiny one that they put in between, too, to make sure you can't get close enough to them to dent their door. Don't you trust me? I wouldn't trust me either if I'd spent that much on my car. Probably either. Yes, Chris? Yeah. Waiting all day for someone to show up who's made an appointment and said, I'll be there, and then they're late, and they're just going to do something that takes a couple of minutes, but you spend all day long waiting for them. I'll be there between 2 and 6, and at 7:15 they roll in, and you've lost your whole day, right? Oh, that's frustrating. Things get under our skin. Does anybody not have something that annoys them in life? For me, it's the student who thinks they run my class. Now, they kind of do. I want to listen, I want to hear, but we really can't have 30 bosses in a room of 30 people. Somebody's got to be in charge, and I think they're paying me, so I think it should be me. And every now and then we have to have a discussion about who it's going to be. And tonight's lesson hits me right in the middle. I'm in the bullseye. This is the one that I've got to work on the most. And I have a feeling I'm not the only one. So I'm going to share my joy with you so we can both have a little more joy. Let your forbearing spirit, the New American Standard, I believe, says, be made known to all men. First of all, this is no secret. You're not fooling anybody. Your attitude is not hidden. You interact with people every day, and they see, and they're watching, and they're paying attention. What will your spirit be? If you want joy in your life, rejoice in the Lord always. Let your forbearing spirit be made known to all men. We're going to notice 5 different steps toward joy, and the first one is one of the very most important, and I think it's first for a reason. You have to have a forbearing spirit. The word in Greek is epiekes. Epiekes. Oh, I can't say it. And I'm not real sure what it means. So I looked it up. And it said everything the translations said. Forbearing, gentle, moderation. King James Version says, let your moderation be made known to all men. Some others, the New American Standard says, let your forbearing spirit be made known to all men. Here, the New King James translates it in verse 5, let your gentleness be known to all men. But it's letting you know, this doesn't really quite get it, because I get a footnote. Number 1, I got to slide over in this teeny tiny print that I cannot read with these bifocal contact lenses. That is a contradiction in terms, let me tell you. Graciousness or forbearance. Now, there's a term I use all the time. I know the New American Standard verse is, let your forbearance or your forbearing spirit be made to forbear. I forbear today. Did you forbear? Or did you 5-bear? I mean, I don't use that word. But words are defined by the company they keep. Whenever you get into the more sophisticated your dictionary or lexicon of a language is, the more often they will refer to the usages in the language. They'll show you this is how it's used. I know baptismo means to immerse because there was a ship that got immersed, it sank. And that's how I can really understand baptism. Well, this word is found in the qualifications for elders in 1 Timothy chapter 3. And I know we study that carefully, but I have had a hard time sometimes getting my mind around exactly what it was the Apostle Paul was telling us about elders in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 3. I got some of it. I can really understand it. But this term, once again, begins to escape me until I look at the company it's keeping. It's opposites. It is given 3 different antonyms, opposites, in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 3. It is sandwiched between them in the more critical Greek text. Paul writes there in the New King James, not given to wine. That phrase is elsewhere, is not quite in this order, but the order is not violent, not greedy for money, but actually the New American Standard, I believe, says not a striker, but gentle, not quarrelsome. Whatever this term exactly means, and it means all these things, gentleness, forbearance, and that's the one we've really got to get our minds around, I think. Forbearance, gentleness, it is exactly the opposite of quarrelsome. Pugnacious, some translations say. It's violent, no striker. And it's the opposite of contentious. Oh, this hurts. Now, I don't go around punching my students. I've never been a fighter. If I ever thought I could be, Paul Williams taught me better than that. He'd taken a few of these boxing lessons, and as a pugilist, he was pretty good. And I was not. And I accepted his challenge to put on the gloves for a few minutes while we were in preaching school together, and I learned never to do that again. I am not a fighter. Not gonna be, never gonna be. But my tongue, while my hands will never be golden gloves, my tongue can be sharp. I was a high school debater and proud of it. We went to the state tournament. We won the novice tournament in Colorado Springs for first-year debaters. I love an argument. I love winning an argument. I like making a point until I win the argument. There is no joy in conflict. None. They don't live in the same place. It's like darkness and light. They don't go together. If you want to destroy your joy, go ahead and be contentious. Go ahead and fuss. Go ahead and fight. Go ahead, get your revenge, get your way, and get back at people. You will be a miserable human being, absolutely. But control that tongue. Be gentle when you could be strong. Don't ignore sin. Don't fail to discipline your children or control your classroom or whatever it is you must do. If you're the policeman, stop the speeder like you must. But can't you do it gently? Can't you be kind? Can't you forbear to use the maximum pressure? Can't you be a little less so sometimes? I know I can, and I'll tell you, as I read the scriptures, am I reading them wrong to see an awful lot of misery and conflict and anger and fussing going on? The Proverbs are filled with this idea about there is no joy in conflict. Unfortunately, ladies, I apologize that we're going to be talking a lot about that contentious woman because Solomon is our author and he has made a monumental error in marrying 300 wives and 600 concubines. 900 women is a mistake. 2 would be a mistake, just ask Jacob. You don't even want 2, but 900? It is no wonder that fellow would write for us. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 9. And while you're at it, don't miss verse 19. In Proverbs, the 21st chapter, the wise man says, better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. Some translations and some other passages will say in a wide house. It doesn't matter how big the palace is. I'd rather have a corner of the rooftop up there than be with her at that point. Guess what, Solomon? She'd probably rather be up there too, without you. Right? There's plenty of contentious men in this world, but the man had the pen right now. But no matter how big the house and how high the roof, sometimes that's not far enough either. Go on to verse 19. Better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman. Oh, when you're with somebody who's angry and who wants to fight, just get me out of town. I don't even want to be in the house at all. I don't want to be in the same town. Put me out. I'll go camping. I'll go fishing. Leave me alone. I want out of here. It's not that she's a woman. He's married her, probably because she's beautiful. Maybe for Solomon, brought a political advantage. But you love the gal. We all had a reason why we got married. But that reason is hard to remember when someone's angry with you and they want to fight with you. Contention just destroys that joy. Oh, and it happens several times. I suppose we could turn over to chapter 25 and verse 24 as well, where Solomon will tell us, it is better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. He's going to tell you the same thing. But go on to the next chapter, because that's where things get tough in Texas. Oh, I'm raised by Texans. Indirectly, Mama was a Texan. Now, she was everything. Heinz 57. Dallas. I know that she lived in Dallas, Fort Worth, Toller, Trinidad, Denver, Colorado. She named how many elementary schools she went to. It was in the 20s, I believe. Never got a B in her life. But she had that sweet Texas accent. Always did. And that's why I walked into a Colorado classroom and said, "Hi, how y'all doing?" The year the Packers beat the Cowboys in the Ice Bowl. That's not fun when you're in the first grade and everybody else there is Polish and from the Midwest and Chicago, and I got razzed. But boy, our family, Dad was a generation removed from Texas. His father went back to Texas and got his mother from their home area in Kimball County, Texas, in Junction, and he drug her kicking and screaming back to Texas, to New Mexico. And Dad was a New Mexican, but he's about as Texan as you could get and be a New Mexican. The whole family really was. And one of the things we did we probably shouldn't have done was some of our teasing. Now, I'm not worried about my parents' soul, but I am worried about myself sometimes as I read Proverbs chapter 26, because this is a scathing indictment of I'm just joking. I love a joke. I love to tease. But sometimes when we say I'm teasing, that's when we're teasing. Because really, an awful lot of teasing is serious, isn't it? Beginning in verse 17 of Proverbs chapter 26, the inspired writer tells us, "He who passes by and meddles in a quarrel not his own is like one who takes a dog by the ears." What a picture. Pardon me? Lyndon Johnson did, but they were his dogs. They weren't somebody else's dogs. Actually, the historical reference I'm thinking about is from 1820, whenever the Compromise of 1820 was signed and created, and Thomas Jefferson said about slavery, "We have a dog by the ears. We dare not hold on and we dare not let go." What are you doing with a mad, angry dog by the ears? You're going to get bit. You can't let go. You don't want to hold on. What are you doing getting involved in somebody else's fight? What do you want to fight for? Reason, discuss, persuade, win another. He who wins souls is wise, the scripture teaches us. But the one who gets in a fight, no matter if you win, you still lose. Keep reading. Like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, "I was only joking." Were you? Were you? That's what hurt the most about teasing. You remember your childhood when somebody decided they would tease, but they were really talking about a serious problem you had. But they're just teasing you. Oh, I'll never forget those. I'm not going to tell you what they were. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. It still hurts, and it's long gone. The problem's long over and long solved. And it's forgiven. But the scar is still there from that, we're just joking, we're just teasing. But ow. My sister remembers a very memorable study hall in junior high. She's a girl named Toby. That's pretty unusual. But my grandmother's maiden name was Toby. She's very proud of her family, traced her family all the way back to 1635 in Massachusetts. So she knew the Toby line going all the way back to the first one who came here from England. And so my dad named his daughter Toby as a first name spelled just the same way, Tobey. And there was one afternoon that Toby came home in tears from a study hall in which the teacher and the boys engaged in how many nicknames can we come up with for Toby. It just hurts, doesn't it? It just says, you're an object of sport, you're fun, we're going to play with you because you're not a real person, you're a toy, you're something we can make fun of. We've got to be so careful with our humor. Yes, we love and we tease, and we're Texans and we're going to get teased and we're going to tease, but be oh so careful. Because you're killing when you said, I'm just kidding, but you weren't. Keep reading. Verse 20, where there is no wood, the fire goes out. And where there is no talebearer, strife ceases. A charcoal is to burning coals and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. The words of a talebearer are like tasty trifles, and they go down into the innermost body. Que chisme. That's one of my favorite Spanish expressions that I throw around in class once in a while. When the kids are gossiping, I'll kind of cut them off by saying, come on, que chisme. What is the gossip? What's the gossip you're going to tell? What are you talking about? And I really don't want to know. I want them to hush the gossip, you know? But we love to hear that gossip. We love to hear that little story, that salacious tale that is a humiliation to someone else. We want to hear that. And yet, if there's no fire, there's no wood, there's nothing, there's no matches, there doesn't have to be a fire, but there's somebody to set that fire. That's not a happy person. That is not a person with joy. That's a person who's not only miserable themselves, but they are spreading hatred and spreading misery like a cancer that's out of control. We've got to learn sometimes to take control of ourselves. Beginning back to reading in verse 23. Fervent lips with a wicked heart are like earthenware covered with silver dross. Useless, ruined. He who hates disguises it with his lips and lays up deceit within himself. When he speaks kindly, do not believe him, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Though his hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness will be revealed before the assembly. You're not going to get away with it. You're going to get caught. The hatred that's going on that is teasing, they know when you mean it. I'm not against a little teasing, okay? I try to have a good relationship with my students, and I'll tease from time to time. Mainly, I'll tease the girls by saying, What are you doing looking at yourself in that cell phone? You're going to become vain. You are just too pretty to keep looking at yourself. You're going to get obsessed with yourself. You're too pretty. Get that phone put away. I want to tease in a very positive way if I possibly can. I want to have friendships. And I try not to tease about what really upsets me. I can't say I've always done that right, done that well. I've learned a different behavior sometimes. How about you? Do we mean it? We've got to watch out. Tease carefully, very, very carefully, because we are handling glass. Human souls that will live forever in heaven or in hell. And how dare we stir up strife and do that kind of teasing? Have you read the Wile E. Coyote principle of Scripture? It's right here. The Wile E. Coyote principle of Scripture. Keep reading. Verse 27, it's not only here, it's repeated elsewhere. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and he who rolls a stone, it will roll back on him. Warner Brothers did not create the hapless coyote that no matter what he does, it turns right back on him. Bang, bang, bang. If he's going to have a great big magnet and he's going to draw the roadrunner in because he's put some metal filings in with the bird seed, he pulls out his big magnet, and what does he draw? He forgot about the TNT he set. Boom. He's going to have a great big old way to go faster than the roadrunner and then have a big rock fall on the roadrunner. How does it work out? Not so well. Happens every time. It happens every time. Because Wile E. Coyote's just Proverbs 26:27. If you dig a pit, you'll be the one in it. You start rolling a stone down on somebody, I don't know how it works, but somehow it's going to roll down that hill, it's going to find that little scoop, it's going to come back and land right on you. Because when you start that word, when you start that gossip, when you start that, sooner or later, it'll come back and get you worse than anybody else involved. You've seen it happen before, haven't you? It's happened to others. I hope it's never happened to you. But we've got to remember that Wile E. Coyote script. If we're going to be happy and we're going to have joy in life, not just happiness, but we're going to have real joy that comes from within and from the God Spirit, we're going to have to get in control of our urge to get revenge, our urge to fight, our urge to fuss, our urge to get even. It's not a good idea. Trust me, you don't want to be Nabal. Talk about a miserable human being. Have you read 1 Samuel chapter 25? I just want to hit the highlights of the story, of the events. One of David's most beautiful wives was Nabal's wife. But Nabal was the name, I don't know what was going on. They didn't always name kids from the first moment they were born like we do. You can't get out of the hospital these days without putting a name on the birth certificate. Sometimes they let them grow into a name. Now, I don't know what Nabal was doing that he got that name, because the name means worthless. If we read this wrong, with a 21st century mindset, I got to get in the right century. With a 21st century mindset, we're thinking David seems like a mafia don and an extortioner who's running a racket. Here I was, and you need to feed my soldiers because all this time we've been among your flocks and we didn't steal a single sheep. You haven't lost a thing. But remember, if David's there, it means Saul's not. And wherever there is no authority, there are thieves and robbers abounding. David's presence has actually protected Nabal's wealth from predation by the land pirates of the day, the filibusteros, the guys who'd run around and steal the sheep. He hadn't lost a thing. And so he tells Nabal, sends messengers to Nabal saying, everything's safe, everything's good, please give us some provisions. Fair enough. You've been safe all this time. we need some provisions. Please provide them, because you're right in the middle of already shearing your sheep. You're already preparing the feast for your shearers. You've got the food. Let us have some too. And Nabal's answer in verse 10 of 1 Samuel 25 is, "Who is David? And who is the son of Jesse? There are many servants nowadays who break away each one from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my meat that I have killed for my shearers and give it to men when I do not know where they're from?" That's a bad idea. This is an army he's insulting. And he doesn't know the fellow that they've all been singing about. Saul has killed his thousands and David has killed his tens of thousands. He hadn't heard of Goliath. He doesn't know any of this. He seems to know that David is no longer Saul's favorite. But Nabal is just as worthless as his name. And whenever Abigail learns of her husband's foolishness, she has anticipated. I don't think she's been told what David had to say about it. Probably it wasn't heard, because this is a private conversation between David and the messengers who come back with this message, and David says, "I'm going to kill them all. They're all dead. There won't be a single male left to Nabal when I'm done." And he goes off to kill them. But Abigail wisely brings the requested provision plus and begs forgiveness in verses 25 and 26 of 1 Samuel 25. "Please, let not my Lord regard this scoundrel Nabal," that's her husband, "for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your maidservant, did not see the young men of whom the Lord you sent. Now therefore, my Lord, get this wisdom." This is what we've got to get a hold of right here. Don't miss the message from Abigail, endorsed by God's word, repeated by David in just a minute. Here's what we've got to get. "Now therefore, my Lord, as the Lord lives and as your soul lives, since the Lord has held you back from coming to bloodshed and from avenging yourself on your own hand, now then, let your enemies and those who seek harm for my Lord be as Nabal." That's the problem. David's about to take his own vengeance, and Abigail, knowing God's word, tells him, "Here's what you need. Don't do it. Let the Lord take care of it. That's his job. And Nabal will be dead in 10 days. The Lord's going to take care of it." Oh, what a message. You want to be miserable? One of the things that seems to have killed Nabal is having heard from Abigail why he's still alive when she tells him this story. Oh, it's not just Nabal. There's plenty of other folks who they've got to have a fight. They've got to fuss about something. Remember Haman? I loved the class we had Sunday going through Esther. Just hit the highlights for a second, but from the point of view of Haman. The book of Esther is fascinating about the preservation of God's people while in captivity and the obvious presence of God's hand and his providence, even though the name of God is never mentioned once in the book of Esther. But it's so obvious that God is at work. But where God is not at work is in the life of Haman for Haman. Haman's got some issues. According to chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, Haman's been elevated above all the rest of the wise men, all of the rest of the officers. He is chief, in charge in that area of Persia, except for Xerxes himself, or Ahasuerus. But that's not good enough for him. Somebody won't bow. Somebody won't kneel. Somebody really won't give him worship. That seems to be the issue. It's not just a normal respect, but he's expecting, one translation says, obeisance. And Mordecai won't give it. As far as Haman's concerned, he just won't. But he asks for a little bit more, and somehow or another, the fact that he's a Jew comes out. I think we have to interpret this in light of Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, where they're put in a position where they're required to give worship to a man and they can't do it. I cannot do that. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego will be thrown into a fiery furnace rather than even give the king worship. David's going to keep praying to God even if only the king could receive prayers for 30 days. They'll lose their lives, if necessary, rather than worship anything else. The Jews learned idolatry is wrong in captivity. They're never going to be idolatrous again. You don't hear about Baal worship anywhere in the New Testament, do you? Or the Ashtaroth? Nobody's cutting groves. Nobody's sacrificing to anything but Jehovah in that New Testament. They learned their lesson. And Mordecai has too. He won't bow. And so Haman builds a gallows. Doesn't he? If we had a little more time, we'd read each one of these scriptures, but you know the story. He is humiliated whenever he builds a gallows, when he goes in to ask the king for Haman's head, for Mordecai's life, to hang Mordecai on his 50-cubit high, 75-foot high gallows he's built. The king asks him, what should I do for someone that I would like to honor? And Haman thinks, he can only be asking about me, and he comes up with just a really great honor, and it must be done to Mordecai, because Mordecai has saved the king's life. And of course, Esther asks for the audience with the king and Haman and points out Haman's treachery, and they kill him instantly. When they cover his face, that means he's executed. And they'll hang him from his own gallows. A couple of lessons that you already probably know, but did you think about them from Esther? He hated Mordecai the Jew because he didn't know anything about Mordecai's religion. He was ignorant of the idea of anyone being unwilling to give worship to another human being. But he was more than happy to take the information he had, distort it, and say, if that's one Jew, that's all of them. Minor slights grow into prejudices so easily. And finally, if you build a gallows, it'll probably end up being yours. Now, I haven't built any gallows, literally, but can you look back on your life? I know I can look back on mine and see the times that I was most pugnacious and contentious and made sure I got my way. The one who suffered most was me, every time. If you're going to build a gallows, you'll be the one hung on it just about every time. Like Wile E. Coyote, Acme sells self-destruction. That's what they sell. Wile E. Coyote's never going to get it done. It's never going to work. What does God tell us in the Romans? What does Paul say in this passage? He spends an awful lot of time here about revenge. I mean, it's a chapter that Romans chapter 12 just kind of takes the whole Christian life and lays it out before you. It's so beautiful, preferring one another in love. So many beautiful concepts and ideas there. But one of the things Paul focuses on most is give place to wrath. Don't take your own vengeance. Vengeance is mine, I'll repay. Thus saith the Lord, he'll quote the Old Testament. It's not our job. We're not in the revenge business. We're not in the getting back business. You can't do it. Now, if you're going to get back, you do need to do something active, and those feelings are natural. Whenever somebody cannot use their turn signal, I do not know why we're allergic to turn signals in Texas, but some of us are. Whenever someone's allergic to turn signals, it makes you crazy. I have to pray for those people, at least I will from now on, and stop calling them anything. But that's not our business. That's not our job. If you're going to get revenge, do something positive and good for them, and do it with the right heart. Because winning arguments isn't fun, having arguments isn't fun, but winning souls, persuading people to do the right thing, sharing God's love with others. There's such a fine, tiny difference, but the difference is in your heart and mine. That's where it changes. You remember Inigo Montoya? Anybody a Princess Bride fan? I am. I love it so much. You know this line. Do you happen to have 6 fingers on your right hand? Do you always start conversations this way? My father was slaughtered by a 6-fingered man, so he holds up his hand and says, I've just got 5. Did you hear that conversation carefully just before the best swords fights in any movie ever? I just love the left-handed, then right-handed, and it's just amazing. But did you hear the conversation? You've been studying sword fighting for 20 years? Well, more pursue than study lately. I just work for Vicini to pay the bills. There's not a lot of money in the revenge business. There's not a lot of anything in the revenge business. Nothing good. He's going to go through his whole life and almost fail to get his revenge. And in the movie, the happy ending for him is killing the 6-fingered man. And even then, even in the happy ending of Princess Bride, he's saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life now. Oh, that's a Hollywood ending. Because that's not the way it works. You get your revenge, and then you probably pay for it. Abraham Lincoln had a fascinating cabinet. He had Doris Kearns Goodwin, I believe, has written a book about it. There's a new book out recently about a cabinet of rivals that he's put together. And he had Democrats and Republicans in his cabinet. They were virtually enemies. And in fact, this man, Edwin Stanton, didn't like him much at all at first. His Secretary of War, if you've seen the movie Lincoln, it's pretty realistic that Lincoln starts another joke in this telegraph room, and Edwin throws up his hands and says, I can't take one more story, and he runs out. They were kind of like oil and water, but on one occasion, Edwin Stanton was very upset, as Abraham Lincoln was at times, with a Union general. And Lincoln was Doris Kearns Goodwin, I read something she wrote today about the fact that Abraham Lincoln was quite a letter writer, but he wasn't necessarily a letter mailer. He had quite a few transcripts. There's quite a picture into Lincoln's mind with all of these letters, and some of them very strong and very hateful, that are signed NS, not signed, not sent. Edwin Stanton was really angry. This is his Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton. Very angry with one of the generals, and Abraham Lincoln advised him to write a letter. And he did. Took him 2 days, he was so mad. He put all of his bile in that letter. He let him know just how angry he was. And Abraham Lincoln is supposed to have looked at it, one story goes, and said, that's not strong enough, try again. And he rewrote that letter. And then Abraham Lincoln looked at the letter and said, that's great. That's just fine. And Stanton said, shall I send it? And he said, oh no, throw it away. You can't say that. You cannot let loose the frustrations, the anger that comes in all of our lives. Stuff happens. But we just can't afford to let it all go. Remember, we are slaves. We are not employees. Whoever you give yourself to serve, his slaves you are, whether to sin unto death or righteousness to life. Paul is saying that so very clearly in Romans chapter 16. What do we have to do every day according to Luke chapter 9, verse 23? If any man come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily. I'm a slave. I'm not an employee of Jesus Christ. I can't go bury Dad, one disciple will say in this very same chapter. I need to go back and say goodbye to everybody. And Jesus rejects those excuses. I'm an American. I've got the Bill of Rights. I have rights. I'm a Christian. I've been bought by the blood of Jesus Christ. I have no right to revenge. I have no right to take my pound of flesh. I can't afford it. Love takes no account of evil. We don't keep those records. We've got to be working on forgiveness. We can't be working on hate and anger. Oh, there's more we could talk about. But do you remember the radio programs, 1930s to 1960? Amos and Andy was on the radio, and Amos and Andy are talking in the taxi office one day, and one says to the other, I'm just so sick of Kingfish. He's making me so mad. He said, well, at the nights of the undersea nights, I haven't heard the radio show. Some of you all have. But he keeps slapping me on the chest, one says to the other. He keeps slapping me on the chest. It's making me so mad. It hurts. He's slapping me on the chest. But I've got him. What are you going to do? I'm going to strap a bomb to my chest. The next time he slaps me on the chest, I'm going to blow his hand clean off. You're going to blow your heart out. You're going to blow your own heart out with revenge, with getting even, with winning, with doing what you have the right to do. No, that's another child of God, even if they haven't obeyed the gospel. That's another precious creation of God, and God loves them too. And if they have to be punished, that's God's job. If you want joy, let him do his job. Learn what Whopper learned. Remember this movie, familiar to a few of you? The final line the computer says, besides, how about a nice game of chess, is so important. The only winning move is not to play. We can't play that game. Let the beauty of Jesus be seen in me, all his wonderful passion and purity. May his spirit divine all my being refine. Let the beauty of Jesus be seen in me. Pray with me if you will. Our Father in heaven, help us to find joy by letting go. Help us to trust you to take care of all the issues, to punish those who need punishing, and to deal with the problems of life. Help us to have that gentle, forbearing spirit that will bring us the joy that you promise. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.